So the creator of Berserk died, and he died young. I'm talking young. Mid-50s is way, way early to die. But it's not just that. His death also brings us to a discussion that some people are not going to enjoy. But I've talked about it on this channel before, and we're going to discuss it a little bit again right now. So lately, the comic book industry finds itself outsold by manga. We'll say more often than not. It's happening quite a bit, actually, now. In fact, recently, I thought I remembered seeing an article where one manga, literally one title, basically outsold like the entire comic book industry in general, if I remember right. It may have been literally the entire comic book industry. But look, here's the thing. A lot of people have moved over to manga because they're, quote, tired of comic books. They're tired of the bullshit. They're tired of the social justice warriors. They're tired of all the preaching. They're tired of all the fantasy leaving books and things like that, and it changing gears and becoming something that they don't want it to change. They don't want it to be. Well, I'll tell you something. First off, before we get too far into this, I'll tell you something. One of the things that's happening here is that you don't know the comic book industry. You don't. That's part of your problem. If you're worried about all the social justice crap, if you're worried about all the downplaying, if you're worried about the fact that they will no longer play the fantasy card, if you're worried about the fact that the comic books of your youth or the adventure is missing or the fantasy is not there, or like, this is partially your fault. And here's the thing, most people, and this is true, a lot of people, they get into comic books and they kind of sit at one spot. Superheroes. I see this all the time. I see it all the time. All the bitching that I see about comic books constantly revolves around, oh, so-and-so in Spider-Man, oh, so-and-so in Batman, oh, so-and-so in Superman, oh, so-and-so at Marvel, oh, so-and-so at DC. And it always seems to surround itself in the superhero aspect of comic books. And see, that is a small part of comic books. But that is a part that most people are comfortable sitting in. If you wanted to do yourself a favor and get the same kind of stuff that you're getting out of your manga, like, I read Genshiken. Genshiken is a slice of life. It's a slice of life manga. Now, a lot of people tend to think that that doesn't exist in the comic books industry, that you can't really get a decent slice of life comic book that has been moving forward and done big stories, or that's adult focused, or that doesn't mind attacking sexuality and things like that, diving into more adult natured comic book areas. We see it in manga. Manga isn't afraid to do something like Genshiken, where we introduce a group and then we build with them, and it's very much a slice of life. It's about these kids that are going to school, that are learning this, that are dealing with their coming age of sexuality and all these different things, and they're going to conventions, and basically just a slice of life. This is life. And then you say, well, like, American comics doesn't have something like that. But it does. It does. Right off the top of my head, go to Sunstone. That is literally a slice of life. It deals with a very specific slice of life, but I'm just literally pulling something off the top of my head, like, really quickly. And that's not getting into other comics like Rose and Thorn. It's years back, Rose and Thorn, but Rose and Thorn was a miniature thing that came out for a while that was pretty serious, that dealt with a schizophrenic serial killer. It was very much like a thriller type novel. These books exist. You could step outside of the superhero. Red Sonja is something that I champion all the time. You want to see something else? You want to jump into something that's not quite the superhero mythos? You want to enjoy swords and sorcery and brutality at its finest with powerful themes of fantasy, sexuality, adult nature, and all the in-betweens that come with it. Red Sonja, Conan the Barbarian, Cole. These are books that you could get into. You want to jump into something that's a little more manga influenced, something that's interesting and it's kind of on the edge and it feels like a manga, but it also exists kind of in our superhero world while being just witty enough to kind of make the proper jokes, tying it back into modern society. Read Empowered. That's something you could do. What about Bomb Queen? Bomb Queen is off the wall. That's some shit that people aren't reading. And then there's one of the biggest shows, literally, look, I don't care whether you like it or you don't like it, it's one of the biggest shows to have ever hit AMC. The Walking Dead, comic book. Retired Extremely Dangerous, that was a comic book. I think The Expendables, I'm almost 100% sure that was a comic book. Comic books don't have to just sit in the superhero line. And it's those comics that are often being called out for having these kinds of problems. And then the comic book industry also gets constantly, when you bring something like this up, what I just did, that, maybe if you put the superheroes down and you tried something else, you may find that comic books is every bit as versatile and interesting as you want it to be. You're just unwilling to look. And then I get this. Well, the manga industry treats its creators better. It's a better industry overall. Comic books is always famous for things like Bill Finger and Joe Shuster and Jerry and Joel, the creators of Superman, got absolutely fucked. And then you look at Bill Finger, he got absolutely fucked, and one artist after another over time has got absolutely fucked. Jack Kirby, it's true. Okay? It happens. It's not a perfect industry. It has shit on its creators many times over the years, but the manga industry gets slightly removed from this. See, a lot of times when you jump over to manga, you're very interested in manga and very taken in by the fact that you don't have to deal with the political bullshit that is constantly seeming to surround your comic books here where you are. This is our culture. This is where we are. This is where things like that are going to be brought up because they're relevant to your everyday life. Literally. This is the way the world is going. This is the state that we're in. This is how things are, and those comic books tend to reflect the times. Most superhero comics in general tend to reflect the times. So, when all this shit is surrounding us and all this conversation is taking place, all that is going to wind up in your superhero novels. But you would be surprised to know that this kind of stuff is also appearing in your manga. It's just not discussed the same way, and you're allowed to skid right by it because it's not your culture. It's not your politics. And since you're not paying attention to that, most of the type of things that would come up, you're just skimming right over. You don't even notice that they're there. Just like most people, I would imagine if they're reading American comic books, they don't see the big problems that you're pointing out when you're talking about social justice warriors is ruining my comic books. It keeps wanting to talk about this and point this out and do this. Well, I'm absolutely positive that manga is doing the same thing because we learn and adapt and live inside of our own culture, and that culture does affect our art. It does. And comic books are art, and manga is art. And oftentimes, the kinds of things that people like, the kinds of things that people are into, and the kinds of things that people are surrounded by will make it into their books. And we are not the only ones that are hurting our creators. Comic books are not good about taking care of the people that invent the material that we give a shit about. But at the same time, manga is far from innocent. Let's take a look at this article. I'm just going to bring up one article, just one, to kind of talk about what I'm trying to say here. Look at this article right here. This is a very simple one right here. You can go check this out. I'll, of course, post the link like I normally do. Manga industry needs to stop hurting its talent. Now, this is not just a clickbait article. This is real. And if you know anything about the industry, you know that this is real. If you've heard the stories from Akira Toriyama when he talks about how he would write when he was sick, he writes all the time. Sometimes he's not doing too well. Sometimes he's forgetful. Sometimes he's struggling to get material out the door. And sometimes his series is literally wrecked by the editors that tell him, you can't do that. This has to change. This can't be this way, this has to be fixed. Like things like where the Frieza saga ended and he was ready to be done, and then that forced him into continually writing, and then he had to keep going, and then that ran into this, and then that became an issue where he kept trying to find a thing where he was like, I'm going to do another Frieza arc. And they were like, you can't do Frieza, you just did Frieza. So he ends Frieza and comes up with 2 androids. He introduces the androids, and immediately his editors are like, people aren't going to like those androids. Those androids are really dumb looking. Try again. And then he creates the two other androids. And he's like, and then his editors were basically like, that's a little girl. That's a little boy. That also isn't going to work. Change the book again. So almost on a weekly basis, he's coming out with material that's immediately being shut down, and he can't stop creating, and they have to put these books out. So they're like, okay, we're going to produce this book, but this storyline has to end fast because this isn't going to work for us. Change this. So he changes it. This also isn't going to work. Change it. So he has to delete everything that he had planned and rewrite the whole thing again. And this causes extreme stress. And if you watch the entrance into the Cell Saga, you can see it literally in motion. Frieza was supposed to be the end of the series. He didn't know where to go from there, but he had a hell of an opportunity, so he brought Frieza back. Frieza ended up then not being the thing. The editors were very much like, we're not going to do another Frieza, you have to change the villain. So he's like, okay, well, Frieza's dead, I'll move on to King Cold. They're like, King Cold is not going to, that's just Frieza again, but he's bigger, we're not going to do that again, so get rid of that too. And he's like, all right, time travel with, androids. And then they see the androids and they're like, we're not buying it, move on. So he tries another set of androids and like, still not really into that, little boy, little girl, whatever. We got to keep trying here. And then he's like, all right, fine, Cell. And then he finally gets Cell out there and they're like, I don't like that he looks like a bug thing. You're going to have to make some edits to that. So he does the perfect scenario where he literally changes into something else, and then they look at Form 2 and the editors are like, I'm not feeling it, you're going to have to try to redesign him. But of course the manga's already gone out, so there it is, it's right there, and now he has to make the change, so now he's going to do more stuff, and then it becomes the super. This is an issue that happens in manga, and it causes a disorder, which is very common amongst manga workers, called hypertension. If I'm not mistaken, that's what it is. In fact, let's read some of this article. Kentaro's tragic death came far too early. The immensely talented manga artist cause of death was due to acute aortic dissection, a rare medical condition often caused by hypertension. One major cause of hypertension is extreme stress. Yeah, and that is caused very normally by manga. It is caused by the manga industry. It is caused by the fact that their copyright is not secure, so they're constantly dealing with the fact that there's daijinshi artists and things like that that are coming out that are basically stealing their material and getting paid for it, which is less money out of their pockets. It's caused by the fact that the editors have literally the final say in the storylines, no matter how creative they are. It's caused by the fact that they have to do extremely talented, deep, detailed artwork, and it can't be delayed very often. They're literally doing sometimes 2 to 3 pages a day, artwork that would take a normal artist 2 or 3 days to do just a single rendering. The artist that died here does some of the greatest artwork in manga. Did some of the greatest artwork in manga and had a damn good story to tell. But the manga industry at its finest is really what took him down in the end, and took him down way too early. It's very easy to ignore this kind of stuff because you're not a part of it. You're not over there. Like, you complain about the copyright rules right here, and while I will not defend them necessarily, I'll tell you that we need to have a rewrite in the way copyright works over here. I'm going to say this. Over in Japan, they're a lot more lenient, at a dangerous level that costs the manga artists a lot of headache and destroys some of their characters. Look, when a manga artist creates something, and then all of a sudden his characters start showing up in doujinshi, complete rip-offs of his character, where they do like Dragon Ball alternate reality giant mangas that literally sell at doujinshi conventions and make all kinds of money. That's money that doesn't go into the artist's pocket. It's money it is promotion for his material. But he gets no money off the product that they're literally creating off his creation. Is that right? And wouldn't that give you a headache to know that you created something so big, so expansive, and you had unlimited stories that you could tell, and then all of a sudden a bunch of independent artists come up, snag your characters, and do everything from murder stories to pornography with your characters, and you don't make a dime from it? Does that seem right? Does that sit well with you if you're the creator? And what if some of those characters you literally had a profound connection to? They are your creation, and you are very much set in stone as to what you feel they should be. And then all of a sudden, random artist number 15 comes along and decides that he wants it to be an erotic novel. And that's what it's going to be now. And then all of a sudden, that literally ends up being a bigger profit margin than the actual manga itself. And while this does feed back into your manga and you start selling a couple more books, the characters that you designed are now irreparably harmed by the material that came out. And I get the idea that we shouldn't necessarily stop things like fan art, because I do like fan art. And I'm not trying to jump down the throat of things like the hentai industry or even necessarily doujinshi at its finest, because I have found some that I truly like. The alternate reality tournament Dragon Ball Z manga is something that I read the crap out of and enjoyed immensely. And then, not only that, but I've enjoyed other books as well. Before I started reading World War Blue by Crimson, I read his original work on Crimson Comics. But when they allow things like this, while constantly attacking the creators that are producing the material, and when you figure that comic books allows for 6 or 7 people to create that material, and then if the material ends up in a slump for whatever reason, they can literally shove that off to another creative team, and that other creative team then starts taking turns with it. Imagine you're a manga artist. You're all by yourself. You're the creator of Yu Yu Hakusho. And you bust out the Dark Tournament. Easily one of the greatest stories ever told. The best part of that entire freaking legacy. Easily the best part of the show, the best part of the manga. Dark Tournament all the way. But you just played your trump card. Now you finish that off, and you start moving into your Season 3. Your Season 3 ain't so good. It's not hitting all the same beats. The Dark Tournament was so good and it's really hard to keep up with, and in your attempt to raise the stakes, you decide to play the alternate character kind of game. Spider-Man has Venom, so on and so forth. But it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So you decide Dragon Ball Z has had an awful lot of help from these transformations. It seems to have worked for them, so I'm going to play the Dragon Ball Z card. It's transformation time. And because of a decision that you had to make literally with no input whatsoever, because it's just you alone, literally writing the story, drawing everything out, storyboarding everything, doing all the art, doing all the illustrations, and you have to do it quickly because it has to be done by the end of the month, and it's going to be like 30-something pages that you have to complete. That's at least 1 to 2 pages a day at best. You don't have any time off. You're sick. You have a cold. You're not thinking clearly, but the work must go on. So you continue to push out this idea, and then you transform the character, and it completely ruins everything that you've built that made you unique and made you something that stood apart from Dragon Ball Z. Now you've already made your mistake, and your book is slumping in sales. and you can't fix it. Do you feel the tension? Do you feel the tension? Because I promise you, at the exact same time, your editors are on your ass, and they're asking for different material, and they're telling you at this point maybe it's better just to shut the entire book down and move on to something else. But hey, success is not always found in something else. Look at one of the greatest creators of the entire manga industry, and I swear he is. It's not just Dragon Ball Z. Akira Toriyama is one of the greatest artists and creators of the entire manga industry. He does great video game designs. His character designs are instantly recognizable. His art is profoundly amazing, and he does very decent, if not some of the greatest action manga ever created in the history of all manga, and he doesn't do bad at comedy. But Dragon Ball Z ran its course, and finally, after all that stress, he was ready to walk away, so he walked away and he tried something else, hoping that he would hit the same level of success, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen because it won't always happen, because manga is not built in the same way as comic books. Comic books have the legacy characters to fall back on. It doesn't matter how many times we reboot and screw up the X-Men, X-Men fans are just gonna buy it. It doesn't matter how often we screw up Superman or how profoundly we screw up Superman. Remember Blue Electric and Red Electric Superman? Well, it didn't matter how bad that was. They sold it. And guess what? The Superman fans, they just bought it. It doesn't matter how bad you screw up Peter Parker. It doesn't matter how bad you screw up Wolverine. It doesn't matter how bad you screw up Wonder Woman. It doesn't matter how bad you screw up Batman. Tom King, guess what? It's going to get bought. They're legacy characters, but manga doesn't work that way. Chances are, if you caught lightning in a bottle and then you don't literally milk that shit for every cent it is worth, destroying every piece of artistic creativity and integrity that you had, literally to the point where your own characters disgust you, you're not going to make it. Because your next book is far from a guarantee. So you find these manga artists constantly going off to other projects or using pen names to jump into that same industry I just talked about. Sometimes they will use pen names and they will pin things under doujinshi labels so that they can make more money, so they can stay on top, or so they can try some kind of creativity outside of the book that they've been forced to do for the last 8 freaking years. The manga industry's hands are not clean. They're every bit as dirty as the comic book industry. It is an industry, and it is literally run on the idea of making money. And the people on the top are making money. And if you're making money, especially if you're making that kind of money, you're usually doing it through the exploitation of the lower workers. In this sense, it's your artists and it's your storytellers. It doesn't matter what they created. Fuck them. It's yours now. It doesn't matter what they have in mind or what they're going to do. You make the shots. And it doesn't matter how tired they are. They has to work. Yeah. And you could find this crap in American comics and you can find it in manga. Sadly, it's business. And business is harsh. It always is. It always will be. So just keep in mind that when you decide that you're tired of comic books, that comic books is just, it's bullshit, and you're tired of the way they treat the industry, you're tired of the way the industry is run, and you're tired of the social justice workers, and you're tired of the toxic fans, and you're tired, the same shit is going on in manga. You're just not thinking about it. Sucks. But I do believe it's true. Let me get out of here.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.